Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? Welcome to episode 166 of the It's Obvious Gaming podcast. I'm Preston Pugh, and I'm joined by my very best friend, Garrett Drake.
This is truly a glorified phone call that people are snooping in on. Well, we've actually invited them to this phone call. It's more of a conference call where everyone's sort of listening in the background. Have you ever attended a conference call in your life, Preston? Or maybe like a media call before where everyone's kind of listening in, but no one gets to respond. That's essentially what this is this week, unfortunately, because Jacob could not join us in person or via Discord today, and Preston was unable to make it to my neck of the woods. So we've resorted to doing a Discord phone call without video, because that'd be just kind of weird of a shot of my face talking into a microphone for an hour and a half. But it's a pleasure as always, my friend. How's your week?
Oh, it's been fine. How about yours?
Oh, quite well. I played several video games. I worked a good bit, and I am prepping for PAX West 2018 in support of COD Connected. It's going to be a good time. It's the indie super show, I like to call it. It's predominantly indie games, and I've made the decision to book whatever my colleagues don't want to book. So I'm probably going to be seeing the grime of the show.
A bunch of crap.
I don't know. It might be. I mean, it's rare that I go to a show like that and play something that's truly awful.
Maybe you'll find a hidden gem in there.
Yeah, I'm sure I will. A couple of the things I booked. It's funny. A lot of it I booked without even looking at what it is because I'm just covering it to cover it. But regardless, I'm thankful I get to go. It's always a fun time. There'll be some extracurricular activities going on there in between the days. That'll be cool. But so prepping for that. Prepping for school, which not necessarily excited about. I'm just totally in limbo with school. I mean, I could be there for another 2.5 years for all I know. So at this point, I'm just kind of brain dead about all of it. But my summer's coming to a close is what I'm trying to say, Preston. And sad times are afoot. I did not take advantage of the warm weather or the outdoors whatsoever, which really bums me out. But I've played some awesome video games, and there's plenty more to come in the fall. So that's what I've been up to this week.
That's great, man. I'm still in this gaming rut I've been in. I hate it. I wish I could just get out of it, but I think there's just so much stuff going on in my life right now that it's just really hard for me to completely, just sit down and just stay focused on a game. And even when I do sit down and try and I think I'm like in the mood for something, I play it for like an hour and I end up just turning it off and like walking around the house trying to do something else. I don't know. It's just weird. I've never really felt like this before, but I'm sure that once Spider-Man and Tomb Raider and just all the countless video games that are coming out this holiday season, once I get my hands on them, I'm sure that I will not be feeling like this. That's the only thing I want to do in my life is play those games. So at least that's what I hope will happen. But
I'm sure it will. If it weren't for Hunt Showdown, I'd probably be in the same situation you are. That game has consumed all of my free time when there's nothing else I want to play. It's always what I go to. I mean, it's typically what I want to play anyway. But that has been there for me in these past few months when there's not much else going on.
Yeah, I wish I had a go-to game that I just, when all else fails, I just know I'll always want to go back to it. I think Final Fantasy 14 is that. I did play that occasionally this week. Me and my uncle played through it one night this week, and it was a lot of fun. There's an event going on right now, like a summer beach event where you get a summer outfit, and there's a small quest line that you follow, and there's an extremely annoying, the quest was pretty much platforming based. You did this beach obstacle course, and as you can probably tell, Final Fantasy 14 isn't the best platformer by any means. So that was I don't want to say irritating because it wasn't the hardest thing, but it was the game's not meant to be a platformer, so it wasn't really fun to say the least. But I don't know, it was cool. It was something that we both could play together. I'm so far ahead of him in terms of level and the main quest line that we can't hardly really do anything that benefits the both of us. I can essentially just help him out through some dungeons and stuff, but it does nothing for me. So it was fun to do something that neither of us had done that we both get a like a prize out of. Oh man, I think that's literally all I played. I played a little bit more Madden, but dude, sometimes that game just makes me want to just do a flying kick through my wall. I have the worst luck of all time in any sports games, and I think that's why ultimately I'll have a lot of fun with them for like a week or two, and I just have to quit because it makes me just not want to live on anymore. Just for instance, I was just playing through the Falcons preseason games. I don't even remember who I was playing, dude, but I drove all the way down the field for this comeback. All I needed to do was like kick a field goal to take the lead, and I just ran like one more rushing play to run the clock out, and I fumbled it on that play and lost the game. And I'm like, what are the chances of that happening? Not high, but of course they happen to me. Shame. So when stuff like that happens, I'm just like, I freaking hate stuff like this. just random, and I know in those games there's just like random luck just to make it more exciting, more lifelike, for just things like that to happen. But when I'm playing just like a video game, it's just extremely aggravating. So I kind of put that down after that. I probably don't have a lot of time left in my 10-hour trial anyways, and I'm pretty sure I'm not going to buy it. But yeah, dude, I literally think that's all I played in video games this week. It was hardly anything. I need to play Octopath, man. I like, even right now I'm just sitting at my desk and I see at the like corner of my eye, I just see my Switch sitting there, and Octopath is just sitting inside, but I have no desire to play that very, very good game. Like that's why I'm so just, this rut is so annoying. It's because I have so many good games that I haven't finished yet, and I have no desire to play them, and it's so aggravating.
Yeah, I guess it's with all the great games we have looming over the horizon, it can be a little more difficult to pick up and play something else at the moment as well. But yeah, I know that feeling as well. I mean, there's plenty of games on Switch in particular that I still need to finish and I haven't finished.
Yeah, it's like I can't be satisfied with what I have. Like, I can open my Steam library right now and I have like 200 games, and then, which that's not even like a lot for like a long time Steam user, but there are a lot of games in there that are great and I want to play, like Devil May Cry 4. I've been having an absolute blast with that game. I'm, more than halfway through it. I need to finish it, but I have no, like I said, I have no urge to play it. It's like I'm just constantly looking forward to the next thing. Like, of course I'm going to play through Spider-Man. Like that is my ultimate priority, is to like platinum that game and stuff. But once I'm done with that, like, and Tomb Raider comes out, am I gonna be playing like halfway through Tomb Raider and then like Call of Duty comes out and that's what I want to play? Then I'll play a little bit of Call of Duty, then Red Dead comes out, and then that's like the next thing I go to. It's like I wish I could just buy a game and just be satisfied with that game, even if the next game is out. I think that's the thing too, is like when a new release is out, in the back of my head I'm like, that new game's out, dude, right? Like, and you're not playing it. All these other people are playing it and talking about it, and you're playing this old game. Mm-hmm. So it's like I can't enjoy this old game just because a new game's out. I don't know if you experience that, but it's just like some effed up mental problem that I have that I need to go like see a psychiatrist about or something, because it's so ridiculous. But
I know how you feel. I've been very sick this week. I'm still recovering. I got some Crystal Burgers on the way to work and had a debilitating cold that night. I mean, it hit me so hard that I ate them, and then about 2 hours later, I was instantly sick out of nowhere. And it's like a cold kind of comes on slowly, and then it hits you. I mean, I swear to you, it hit me like a freight train, like 3 hours after I had it.
So it wasn't the crystals.
I think one of the employees was just sick and was handling the food, because I was totally fine all that day, and then I had those burgers, and they were delicious. I mean, I devoured them, but I was sick later that evening, unfortunately.
Yeah, crystals is a weird thing. I've gotten like food poisoning, I think, twice in my life from crystals.
Mm-hmm.
And like crystals are very tasty, they are, but I'm honestly surprised that you even eat crystals, Garrett.
Me?
Yeah, just because of how I know how you are about food sometimes, like about just things like looking weird or being weird or something, and sometimes just if you just like just deeply look at like the crystal
I
patty,
know. Yeah, I don't like to look at it.
like it'll like turn grayer the longer you look at it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just slimy and stuff.
It is very
just
disturbing. I don't like to analyze it.
Yeah,
I just like to scarf it down
good.
and hope for the best. Jacob hates them though. I mean, I totally get why he hates them too, but I think I've just been eating them for so long that it doesn't faze me anymore. Like my grandma, when I was a kid, would take my sister and I and my cousins to the St. Augustine beach, and she would order 100 crystals, and we just eat them throughout the day on the beach.
Yeah.
We'd pack them full of sand too while we were eating them on the beach, like you like to do.
Oh yeah, so, that's delicious.
Yeah, good times.
If I go there now, and I believe me, I don't pick to go there, but I know one of my coworkers really likes crystals, so I've been there like I think once or twice with him. I end up getting the chicken sandwich ones. Those are good. I don't know if you've had.
Yeah, I had a couple of
those
the other day when I got sick.
Yeah, those look those taste good, and those
look much better.
Look
too.
like actual chicken. Yeah, so I'm able to take those down a little easier.
It's all good. Yeah, but unfortunately, because of that, I had a horrifically sore throat. I thought I had strep, but I went to the doctor. I didn't have it, thankfully. But I had a really bad sore throat for a couple of days, so I had to cancel some streams. Could hardly finish a sentence without coughing my lungs out. I still have a bit of a tickle now, but getting better. Thankfully, I was just bummed I had to cancel a bunch of streams. So streams are back as of Monday. What is today? The 19th. Monday the 20th. I am live in the morning. If you're listening to this podcast in the morning, Eastern time specifically.
Garrett, I would love to talk to you after the podcast about some potential streams this week, if you're up for it, because I think I could either join you or do one earlier this week, and I don't want to bore anybody listening to the podcast, but I would like to just remind myself and you that I would like to talk to you about it once this podcast is finished. That'd be nice.
I'm sure people would enjoy your presence on stream for once.
Maybe.
I know I certainly would.
I don't know what's too exciting about myself, but I think it would be fun.
Certainly.
Speaking about streams really quick, I watched Jacob play some of the Battle for Azeroth WoW expansion.
As did I.
And a lot of people, on my Twitter feed and YouTube are talking about World of Warcraft, and it's very much on everybody's minds right now. And just like I told you, if something new comes out and people are talking about it, it's like the back of my brain is like, you got to get in on this, dude. Mm-hmm. So I re-downloaded WoW. And I think isn't it like, I don't even know if you know, but I think it's just like free to play now unless you buy it, like up until the point of the Battle for Azeroth. I'm not exactly sure the details.
I think it's still a monthly payment. You just don't have to buy the base game anymore.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, whatever it was, I was able to reinstall the game, and I didn't have to pay for anything. So I I had an existing character on my account. It was like a level 5 or 6 warlock, and I booted it up, and I played for like 20 minutes, and it's fun. Don't get me wrong. It's fun. And I don't know anything that's going on. I'm just running around like shooting spells at like pigs and stuff. But then again, in the back of my mind, I'm like, dude, why are you playing this when you have like hundreds of hours in Final Fantasy 14 and you just bought the expansion passes and you pay monthly to play that game, and you're just going to start this other massive MMO? So the second I had that discussion with myself in my head, I had to turn it off.
Oh,
because I thought that was a valid point that I
valid
had
point
to
me.
Myself.
Thank you for informing me.
Yeah, exactly. So then I started Final Fantasy again, but yeah, so that was my small experience with World of Warcraft. And Final Fantasy has way better graphics, so it's like a way better game.
Yeah, totally, dude, absolutely. And it's on console too.
Yeah, for sure. Dude, that's kind of crazy. That's kind of I don't know if weird if you think about it, but I thought I would think by this point Blizzard would have figured out a way to get like WoW on console, you know?
I know, after all this time, definitely.
Yeah, they got Diablo on there, they got Overwatch on there. Granted, they don't have StarCraft or anything yet, but I feel like WoW would have been like a cool thing to put over on console. I don't know.
Sure. Especially if they didn't have that monthly payment and it was on console, it would be even bigger, probably.
But, yeah, I mean they're probably just, you know, they're still the most played MMO. Like they're probably just killing it so hard on PC. They're like, especially, and then with Overwatch and stuff, they're just like it's not even probably worth the investment to port this game to console. We're doing just fine as it is, anyways.
Yeah.
So
I always told myself if I had nothing left to live for, and I knew like whatever it was I was doing and where I was at was going to be it for the rest of my days, I would totally get into World of Warcraft. And I don't say that to be like, this is what losers do. Like if they don't have a life, that's why they're playing. I don't mean it like that. I just mean I'm already so invested in so many other things, and I'd have to sacrifice other areas of my gaming life to pursue I feel like a rewarding World of Warcraft experience that to me, it's not really worth investing that time now. But I will say every time I see Jacob play it, or just anyone else playing it for that matter, I'm always so enamored by the world that just surrounds them and just how much there is to explore and all the different places there are to see, characters to meet and quests to go on and raids to do and everything. And just there's so much about that game that interests me. And for so long, what's intrigued me that way. And I was always mad at Jacob how he hid it from our entire group of friends for I think at least 5 or 6 years. We had absolutely no idea he was playing the game. And I was mad when we found out, not because he was lying to us the whole time, but because he didn't tell me, because I would have totally played with him. That in all those years, I would have played with him if he had told me. But yeah, I enjoyed his streams. I think Battle for Azeroth looks cool. I mean, it's kind of hard for me to tell what's different about it from the main game other than story, I guess, and progression and everything. But it looks pretty cool. I definitely had that thought in the back of my mind, too, about downloading it, but I hesitated.
Yeah, the thing also with that game is that I don't know if I would want to just buy Battle for Azeroth and just get like a level 110 or 100 character and just skip the like 14 years of content. Like,
yeah, no, I would want to start fresh and like really get the true full-blown experience.
Yeah, exactly. And that might be, you know, somebody that actually knows a ton about WoW, that might be stupid and it might not even be worth it. But that just I don't know, that just doesn't seem, that just kind of seems weird in my opinion to just jump to level 100 just starting this game. And I'm assuming like the raids and dungeons are gonna like assume that you know what you're doing, you know, because it's the freaking 30th expansion.
Right.
So I feel like I'd also get like my teeth kicked in trying to do anything.
For sure.
But yeah, but like I was just thinking like how long would it take to get through all the previous expansions to get to Battle for Azeroth? It might be like, I might be playing like another 14 years before I even, you know, got to that point.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing about it, why I hesitated especially, is because it wasn't really my interest in Battle for Azeroth per se, but just that expansion reignited my interest in the game to begin with. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I've always thought if I got into it, I'd want to start from the beginning.
Yeah. And that's the thing with Final Fantasy XIV. That's probably the only MMO that I actually got to the end-game content before like Heaven's Ward came out. I know I pronounced that wrong. So I granted I'm way behind now. Like I haven't even done that expansion or the Stormblood expansion, but it at least I can like. I know I can get caught up in 14 in a, you know, relatively a long amount of time, but you know, I know it's possible. I know what I'm doing. I've been playing Final Fantasy 14 for, I guess, technically years. I mean, I started playing it on PS4 like the year that PS4 launched, I believe. I know I was in the beta, so you know, I've been playing it for a while. So I know, and I genuinely enjoy it. I think it's a fantastic game. I love playing it. You know, I understand the systems and stuff. So if I'm, like I said, if I'm gonna play an MMO, I just need to play that one. I'm perfectly fine with playing it. I understand it, etc., etc., etc. So yeah, that's how I feel.
I know how you feel, my friend. As with many things, I typically know how you feel because I can relate. You and I have known each other for quite some time.
Yes. Oh, surprise game. I forgot about this. I played 2 matches of PUBG.
Just out of nowhere?
Believe it. Just out of nowhere. I was just sitting here looking at my Steam library, and I just like, I'll play PUBG. Haven't played that in a while. First match, I got like 4 kills, got in the top 5. Got sniped in the final moments. Was exhilarating as always, of course. Was very impressed with myself. That's probably like one of the best matches I've ever had. I suck at PUBG, so getting 4 kills is like an absolute miracle. 2 of them were like in actual firefights. The other 2, I think I just came up behind somebody, blew their head off. Nice. But then the next match, I was done in like 5 seconds. So I gave up at that point. But it was a good about 40 minutes of fun I had there.
Nice. Sounds great.
So, yeah.
I mentioned last week I was reviewing Electronauts, right?
Yeah, you did.
Okay, I did finally...
I watched your video for that.
What, my Let's Play?
Yeah, your COD Connected
video. Yeah.
I think it was on COD Connected, yeah. And
it's a fun little game.
It looks like a cool game.
Yeah, I like I say in that video, I think EDM's hilarious and all, but I actually... right before I finished my review, I wanted to make sure I wasn't missing any of the features of the game, so I went back into it and played it for about an hour. And that game, is simplistic as it is, can really be a lot of fun just to mess around in. Because I pulled up a track and really got to know the tools at your disposal really well, like the different instruments you can install and different ways to set up parts of a track, like the drop and the break and the intro and the bridge and all that. Just how the response, like the rumble and the move controllers when you're hitting like the drum orbs, for example, just feels really good. And the different tunes, the way you can just really make them your own, turned out to be a lot of fun. And I genuinely played for about 45 minutes just purely for enjoyment's sake when I got into it, because I kind of got the hang of it. And I gave it a 95 out of 100 because there really was nothing wrong with it whatsoever. The only thing that was lacking a bit was the tutorial. I mean, there's a lot of the game that was kind of confusing once you get into it because the tutorial is pretty brief. But I did say, in regards to that, I think part of the fun is sort of experimenting and figuring it out on your own. But there were a couple things that I couldn't really figure out. So I took points off for that. And I also thought it'd be cool if at some point, I don't think it's really necessary, but I think for the sake of replay value, if they gave you an option to make custom songs from scratch that you can kind of upload and share on like the Electronauts servers or something, I think that'd add a lot to the longevity of the game. But other than that, man, it was super solid. I mean, Survios, every single thing I've ever done or played from Survios, which is I think just about everything at this point, has been outstanding. I know they have Creed coming out, I think, October. So, yeah, all their stuff is
that
the best.
PSVR exclusive?
I think it might be, yeah, because I remember I demoed it on PSVR as well. So,
gotcha.
Yeah.
Is that the highest score you've ever given?
95?
Yeah.
I think I gave a 95 to Razer headset I did one time. Yeah, I think that Razer headset I gave a 95 to. I gave Lawbreakers a 90, dude.
Oh, sick, dude. You totally helped that game.
Yeah, I kid you not. I think I gave Vampire the second highest score in the industry on Metacritic.
Vampire, that's another game I need to finish. That is an extremely underrated game that gets crapped on just because the combat isn't the best thing ever, and due to that they just crap on everything else in the game that is really freaking good.
Yeah, speaking of that, I'll jump to one news story real quick while we're on that topic. This Fox 21 television company acquired the rights to a vampire TV show from Don't Nod. Which is pretty cool.
I think that sounds great. I think the whole premise behind Vampire is awesome. Just with him being a doctor and that just internal struggle with just his profession and him being a vampire. I think that's just a really, really cool concept, and I think that could make a cool TV show.
Definitely. I mean, as far as tone and style are concerned, my mind immediately jumps to Penny Dreadful, which was I think it was a Showtime show or a Star show, one of the two. I think it was Showtime. And I loved that show when it ran. I think I mentioned that on the podcast before, where their final season was just a rush job and they canceled the show out of nowhere. I think they actually canceled it about halfway through production. So the conclusion to that show was just, in my opinion, awful and rushed, and it was just so unsatisfying. But the style and atmosphere of that show is just so cool, and I hope that they can apply that to Vampire. Now, I don't know much about Fox 21 television and what their budget would look like for a vampire show. It doesn't need to be huge, obviously, but you want to get the setting right and everything. But I'm hoping that the show is treated with care, because I feel like they could really be something awesome, especially if it's on a bigger network. But I think that's cool that they added that mode too, where you can pretty much play the game without combat or just minimal combat encounters, just really focus on the story. Because that's definitely was the greatest appeal to me too, was the story and just the morality of Jonathan Reed's character and everything was cool. So I definitely got the bad ending too, by the way.
Oh, nice.
Which I won't spoil, but I'm interested to see if they follow it up with a sequel at some point, because I definitely like to see what else they have in store for how they could expand on that gameplay and everything going forward.
Yeah.
So good stuff, man. Good stuff. Well, played Electronauts. Sure. I also played a crap ton of Doom on PC, and heavens above, is it outstanding. Yes. I know you've mentioned that. This is what's amazing about PC, is that I have it maxed out, and it looks, even in 1080p, it looks so beautiful. It's just much shinier on PC, I've noticed, than it is on console. I mean, everything is just so shiny and reflective. And I mean, just visually, it's beautiful, but it just plays so freaking well on PC too. And just really customizing it to exactly the way you want it to feel is so good. And I'm loving every moment of that too. I think I played almost halfway through the game already, doing all the collectibles as well. It's like I'm playing through it to platinum at a second time, because I got so excited about the Doom Eternal gameplay, and then cranking out that additional video with the gameplay when we were talking about it on our YouTube channel got me interested in finally downloading it again. So I did. And I'm adoring it, because I am stoked out of my mind for Doom Eternal. So obviously I'm prematurely playing through Doom again, because by the time I get through it, we'll still have several months to wait till Eternal comes out. But I love Doom so much, and I'm very, very excited for Eternal. So that's why I downloaded that.
That just reminded me, I also played Doom a little bit as well. I think I saw your name pop up that you were playing Doom, so I thought, oh, I'll play Doom too.
Yeah.
I just got to the part where I'm like the level after you get the BFG.
Okay.
So I think
you're much further than I am.
More than halfway through.
Yeah, I'm in Argent Tower. Really, that's one of my favorite missions in the game, when you climb that tower and that first giant arena, and it introduces the Mancubus, and it plays the BFG Division song for the first time. Yeah. I mean, I know we talked about it, but it is just so gnarly to be flying around an arena like that, blasting demons to that heavy metal. It is just so good.
Yeah.
So, very excited for the sequel.
For sure, me too, man.
I also played Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate on Nintendo Switch.
Whoa! So now, is that out?
I don't know if it is.
Is this for COG?
This is COG coverage. Yeah, I'm not reviewing it. I'm just capturing gameplay for video review.
Okay.
So I was not playing Monster Hunter World like the most other people on PC this past week, but I did dabble in that. I still need to capture a bunch more gameplay, but it's just so, like, I get what Monster Hunter is, and it just hasn't grabbed me. I realize Monster Hunter World's cool, and I totally get the appeal, because I have to admit, my first hunt was so satisfying. You know, I went on a harvesting quest to gather all these goods to combine into potions and invest in strengthening what weapons and armor I had at the time, and eating a meal beforehand to get that buff. Going in, hunting the monster, killing it. Just the music and the sound design cues are just so satisfying in that game. That post-hunt, I was like, man, that was so fun. I could totally see myself really getting into this if I allowed myself to, especially with Monster Hunter World. But again, kind of like how you said with that, there's other things to play. Of course, my mind's on Doom, my mind's on Hunt Showdown, and meanwhile, I'm just dabbling in this Switch port, or I think it was a 3DS originally port to the Switch. whatever it was. And it runs fine. It looks better than it did on 3DS, obviously. And I definitely get the appeal, but it is definitely very tedious in terms of killing certain monsters and having the willpower to go out and harvest and gather goods to actually properly prepare for the fight beforehand. But
yeah, I have no experience with playing any other Monster Hunter game, but from what I heard from other people that I played World with is that just World does that so much better. It just makes that process less tedious. There's no, as I'm sure you saw from just seeing gameplay from World, when you're out like hunting, there aren't different loading zones. It's all, one big area that you track the monster going through.
Right.
For when I was playing it, obviously there is a grind, but in my opinion, it wasn't like a bad grind, to upgrade your armor and stuff. All the materials that you needed were from the actual big monsters, and just that gameplay loop of getting more powerful and just being able to go fight these monsters that kicked your butt originally, and you can just lay them out and get materials from them, and to make you more powerful, just obvious that loop of fighting the monsters to get stuff to be better. But that's just so satisfying in that game, because I think the most satisfying thing is because you're like wearing that monster. Like the armor looks just like it. So it's like I'm forgetting the name of the T-Rex thing, the Agenarth. That thing was such a pain in the butt. We fought it in the beta, that like pink T-Rex thing. Just how that thing is so intimidating, and then by the time you're towards the end of the game, that thing is absolutely nothing, and you can just go like cut its head off, with ease, and you're like wearing it on you.
That's awesome.
That's just so fun and satisfying. So I don't know how you would like I said, Monster Hunter World was the only Monster Hunter game that I ever played and got into, so I can't tell you the differences between that and what you're playing right now. But from what I heard, it's way more streamlined, and if there's like any grind problems, I don't know if those are fixed in World or not. I just know that when I was playing World, I never really hit a point with grinding where I thought it was too tedious or not, I wasn't having fun or anything like that.
Right. Yeah.
So hopefully that made a little sense. I think I went off on a little kept repeating things over and over again, but I'm not too super familiar with World. All I know is that I had a ton of fun, and I'm sure a lot of that fun was contributed to me and Jacob were super into it, and we were hunting monsters together. So I'm sure that made it a whole lot funner than just going out on your own fighting the things.
Is it raining outside? Is it the air conditioning? Holy crap, dude. So, the air blows in the other room we do the podcast in normally. Well, I'm in my other room today, and I'm directly below the air conditioning, and it was so loud that I swear to you, I thought a plane was flying over my house for a second. Well, I'm going to have a hell of a time filtering that out this week, but I won't worry about it.
And one more thing about World. I've heard the PC port is like fine, but not very good. I saw a guy do a benchmark or just like some tests on a 1080 Ti 8700K CPU. I think like just 16 gigs of RAM, but he was getting dips like below 60 into the lower 50s just playing in 1080p.
Man.
Yeah, so it's I don't know how optimized it was. I was seeing people say Capcom ports on PC are typically bad, but the only Capcom port I've played on PC is Devil May Cry 4, and that runs incredibly well. Granted, that's an old 360 game, so I don't see how with my PC that could possibly run bad. Like that would have to be like the most poorly optimized thing of all time. But I've never heard anybody have problems with like Resident Evil or anything like that. So I wonder if it's just the people that either ported it or just that developer of Monster Hunter. That's their first PC game, or I'm sure something like that would be contributed to it. But I haven't heard, too many good things about the PC port. That's honestly one of the things that's, I don't know if I was going to buy it for PC anyways, because that's just the thought of going through that process again, fighting all those monsters and grinding and upgrading, that just does not sound fun to me, because I've already done that. I did that on PS4 for like 100 or 200 hours, so just the thought of repeating that just does not sound fun to me. And then on top of that, hearing that it's not optimized extremely well, so those are kind of two of the reasons why I haven't bought it yet or anything.
Yeah, I think there will undoubtedly come a time where I want to play through Monster Hunter World. I mean, it's definitely, I consider it a part of my backlog in addition to Persona 5, of course. Persona 5 is one of those games I can imagine I will fall in love with playing religiously when I know this sounds insane, when I'm all the way through school. I have, by God's grace, acquired a job in the field I'm hoping to acquire. And the only thing I have to do is go to work and come home. That's it. And don't have to worry about running sound and doing additional game work on the side and going to school and blah, 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 all that stuff consuming my time. When it's as simple as go to work, come home, the end. I know I'm going to totally eat up games like that. But at the moment, it's just virtually impossible for me to get into them. But every time I see Monster Hunter, someone who's really high leveled especially, it gets me really interested to want to play it again, but I know I just don't have the time to sink into it. But I will at some point for sure. And just again, playing through Generations Ultimate, tickles my fancy a bit. And I can totally see the appeal and the loop and the addiction of that loop of just, hunting the monsters and acquiring that new gear to go take on the next monster and everything. So I will play it at some point. But funny story about Doom I meant to mention that was so frustrating at first, and I thought I was losing my mind. And you may have heard something like this before, but it's specifically about people who have Razer keyboards that play Doom on PC. So I get into it, and I have everything initially maxed out, and I start playing, and I have my frame counter, my in-game frame counter too, just to be absolutely sure, locked at 60 FPS. I'm running around, and it's not dipping, but the game is clearly dipping in frames every like 5 seconds or so, but it's not showing that on the counter. And it was weird because it would feel really silky smooth, and out of nowhere, just very briefly, it'd feel like it dipped like 5 to 10 frames. I was like, what in the world's going on? So, of course, naturally, I lower the settings a bit. No change. I'm like, that's weird. So then I start changing really minute things, like I'll try turning off motion blur. I'll try turning off the whatever it's called. And
anti-aliasing.
Yeah, so I started disabling all these little other things, and nothing's changing. I'm like, all right, here's the real test. I turn everything to like potato style, dude. No change. It's still doing the exact same thing. I'm like, what on earth? So I Google it, and countless people are having this issue. Everyone's like, I'm losing my mind. And people have rigs that are twice as powerful as mine are freaking out about the exact same issue. I'm like, okay, clearly this has something to do with the game. And it's a lot of funny comments too. Like people are like, this is why you should be playing on console, dude. PCs are too complicated. And this other guy's like, never play on max settings. It's a meme. And everyone's like, you're an idiot, dude. So I'm looking this up and I can't find answers. And thankfully I come across a Reddit post, just says, go into your settings, turn off Razer, whatever the Razer setting is to enable your keyboard to react to the game. So that's it's specifically Razer enabled games on PC give you this option to have your keyboard react to the specific game you're playing. And I will say, when I first booted up Doom, my keyboard was awesome. It was doing this flame effect, and like every time I would shoot, I had these cool flames that would go across the keyboard. I'm like, man, this looks awesome. So I'm not really concerned about that because I'm not staring at my keyboard while I'm playing the game. But I go to it, turn that off instantly. The most buttery smooth, gorgeous experience I've had. It was amazing.
That's hilarious.
How that simple thing just almost made it a debilitating experience on PC, and it completely ravaged the buttery smooth experience I was used to. And I also changed my FOV, which I'm glad you can do on PC as well. And I was concerned. I'm not really concerned, but I was confused as to what would be optimal for my setup. And they said I play everything in 16:9 now. I shifted away from 21 by 9 or whatever, because it was just way too wide and I felt like it was eating my face because I sit so close to my screen. So back to 16 by 9, and they said in that aspect ratio, a 106 FOV is perfectly. And I never really understood exactly what the differences would be, because I can never really tell watching it on like a TV screen or anything, or like a YouTube video.
Oh, the field of view?
Yeah. Like I understood what they were saying, but I couldn't really ever tell a difference. But because default you're at 90 and everything feels really close to your face and kind of like tight spaces. But just changing it to 106, it's like that weird, like you can see further and wider. Like it's hard to describe, but it feels and looks so perfect for Doom, especially on my setup. And I was so excited about that as well. To not only, of course, be playing this, like the best version of Doom I could possibly play at the moment, but then looking forward to doing that in the sequel again. It's just so exciting. So it was awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
But as I mentioned, I played Hunt Showdown, of course, normal on the normal servers as well. But what I'm in particular, what I'm excited about is the 2.3 update that's live on the test server at the moment, that I imagine will be launching on the real servers in the coming week or probably next week or two. But really sizable update coming to the game that I am so stoked for. A lot of predominantly not really map changes, but environmental changes, plus a couple other minute things in there that people are mostly excited about. A couple things I'm concerned about, but the big ones that I think are super cool for people that not only enjoy the game, but this may even be interesting to you, are some of the environmental aspects. So now the water devils are finally live, and they're these horrifying spider squid things that live in the water. And they aren't rampant, but they're in just enough areas to make you think twice about going into the water. And you can always see little bubbles of where they're hiding in the water. But even if you come within like 50 yards of them, they're going to spot you and come chasing after you. So originally, where you could cut through water to get to different areas, either silently or quickly, or just go around other players or certain compounds, now it's much more difficult because they're infesting the waters and can kill you very quickly. Now, they're also easy to kill, but killing them, of course, makes additional noise, and you're risking exposing yourself. So of course, the sound design of the game is so good. They just make this weird gurgling, clicking sound in the water, and it's just absolutely horrifying when they come swimming after you. So that's cool, especially when you're kind of walking over a bridge where they're under you, and if you fall off, you're dead. So that's very cool, having to think about new ways to traverse the map. But on top of the water devils, there's also ducks in the water now. Now there's crows on land that will, of course, fly off if you alert them, and they're always a dead giveaway to where hunters are. But now there's ducks in the water. So originally we're like, oh, there's crows on the land, we'll just go in the water right here. Well, there's either a water devil, there's ducks there now. So you have to worry about setting off ducks in the water. So I really appreciate that as well. It just makes it even more tension filled than before. It's like no matter where you go, there's going to be something you have to deal with at all times. So that's very cool. On top of that, the Butcher is always in an agitated state now, which makes him far more harrowing than he originally was. And he also, both bosses now are also much more alert to players being in their compounds, because originally you could sneak in and kind of hide in a corner of their compound and they wouldn't really spot you unless you alerted them, which gave players an advantage if another team came in and started shooting at the boss. You could run up and kill them very easily. So now the bosses are much more agitated and violent towards you right when you walk in there. So that's pretty cool. What else is in there that's significant? There's a lot of tiny little things too. A couple minor changes to weapons. The dark sight boost when you acquire. Have you played since when you acquired the bounty? Now you kind of have that boost where you can see where people are around you if you're carrying a bounty. So I was always a little concerned about that because I always liked the surprise of players trying to camp me out and stuff. I just kind of liked the hardcore aspect of the game. And when they added the dark sight boost, I get the why people wanted something like that, because it kind of combats campers. But I always thought it was a little overpowered because that 10 seconds can go a long way. So they've shortened that up now, where it sounds weird that they say they made 10 seconds faster, but it just drains much quicker than before. So that doesn't last quite as long as it used to, which I think is the perfect balance, because originally I thought it was just way overpowered, because I could hold on to that dark side boost for 30 minutes if I wanted to and still use it to my advantage. So they shortened that a bit, which I think is much better. So that was satisfying. Trying to think of anything else big. Those are the major ones I can remember, but overall, so cool. And I also wanted to say I cranked it up to 100% full-blown top settings in the game. Of course, still 1080p, but even at 1080p with the motion blur and the depth of field and high specs all the way up and all those other settings that you can crank to their fullest extent, I was amazed at just how different the game looks and feels with all those settings on. So since early access began, I've been playing on the very lowest of settings. And there came a point where I was like, this still looks surprisingly pretty good for it being on low settings. But it is fascinating how much better it looks cranked out on max compared to low settings. And it was just so beautiful last night. I was playing predominantly on night maps. Just the lighting, I feel like, is always at its best at night with the moonlight and the fire igniting certain areas and everything. I was just blown away at the presentation and just looked and felt awesome. So I was excited about that. But the update, super, super fun. I may be streaming that this morning and maybe streaming Doom purely for pleasure. I don't know. One of the two, but Hunt's update is super cool, and I'm very excited for it to launch officially.
Cool. Well, while we're speaking of PC gaming, I don't know if you have it a part of your news or not, but there is this hashtag going around, and Nvidia has updated their Twitter. Do you know anything about that?
Whose Twitter?
Nvidia.
Do you think it's regarding the new graphics cards?
Yeah, so there's this hashtag before the game going around. Nvidia has updated their profile where their profile picture and their header are just completely green. And they had a little video come out that a lot of people are kind of seeing 2.0 and 8.0, like a 2080. They're finding that. And then I've seen some theories like how they're doing this press conference today on Monday, and the date is August 20th, which I think it's going on in Gamescom, which they do their dates. They do the date before the month, so it would be 28, so like a 2080. So that might be like a little bit reaching there, but anyways, people are finding all of these 2080 things. So like Tomb Raider, I think they did an ad for before the game. Battlefield 5 did. Like, there are so many people like doing that hashtag, and they're changing their profile pictures to just like solid green. So I'm assuming tomorrow or today on Monday, we're going to see something about Nvidia's next line of graphics cards.
Okay, riddle me this, Preston.
Yes.
So the TI, is that predominantly to get you to 4K resolution? Is that its main purpose?
I wouldn't say it's its main purpose.
Is that like the main draw for people, though, is the 4K capability?
It depends. I can play a majority of things in 4K. I can't obviously max out the settings, but for now, I can play games at 60 frames 4K. I'm assuming in the next year or two that probably is going to be harder as, games get more, graphically intensive, etc. But I mean, a lot of people I know use TIs just for, like 2560 to play it, just, a higher frame rate in that setting. So I don't think people necessarily refer to any graphics card right now as like the ultimate 4K graphics card. Like, you have to, mess with the settings to, obviously make it optimal. So
right.
I probably this next line of graphics cards, like the 1080 Ti of the next generation, is probably going to be like the monster that can just destroy any game at 4K. At least that's what I'm thinking. I know there's like this new technology called like Ray something, where they can just like read data faster. I think that's what they're saying the new graphics card will be based on, but I don't think these graphics cards are coming out soon. Like, I think it's still gonna, I think the one thing I read said like 2020 is when they would be coming out. That could be wrong. We might see, tomorrow. But yeah, I am definitely interested to see what it is. Well, why do you ask about that?
Because I'm wondering like what they would do next with the next card. Is it just always just about more power, being able to handle more going forward? I assume that's just the main goal.
In general, I think that's obviously like the main thing, is to be able to run everything better. But I know you can get like really into the the details of like how it runs and stuff. Like I'm pretty sure the cards that we're using right now, they run off like a Pascal system. I'm pretty sure. I think that's like the architecture of it. And I know they came out with like a Titan V, which runs off this like Volta system. I'm probably just completely destroying these names and stuff. I haven't looked too much into what I'm actually talking about. So it'll be like running on a different like system. And like I said, I think this new system like just reads memory faster. I don't want to talk too much longer about this because I don't want to sound like a complete idiot not knowing what he's talking about. But yes, I think at the end of the day, it's just going to run games, better.
Okay, but then correct me if I'm wrong. Supply and demand inherently suggests that once these are revealed and eventually available to the public, the 1080 Ti, for example, should reduce in price relatively soon. Then, right?
I would assume so. I guess, like you said, supply and demand. I don't know I guess I don't know. I guess we just have to see.
Yeah.
Like when those new cards come out, like how many TIs are going to be, floating around or anything once that's announced, or if like a lot of people are going to have the idea that I think you have right now. I don't know with like your card right now, with you having a 1080, if it would be worth it to just update to a TI. If you would in the next couple of years want to upgrade at all, it probably would just be better for you to just upgrade to the new cards.
That's what I was thinking. I was actually talking to a dude on Hunt last night specifically about this exact subject, and which is so funny. On the test server, it's so dead that we were like, I think there was 3 people max on the test server on the East Coast last night.
Holy crap.
So we were just talking about stuff like this for like an hour and a half last night. And he kind of said the same thing. I kind of like had that internal debate, like, well, theoretically speaking, like what I just asked you. And he's like, you should probably just wait for the next one in a couple year or two. I was like, you're probably right.
Yeah. You are not hurting at all with your PC right now.
Oh no, dude. I am living the good life. That's for sure. And it's all based on your suggestion and your help. And I greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, you have a monster. I have a monster. And I know there's a like what I was talking about in terms of gaming. Like if I know a new graphics card is out, I'm like, oh, I don't have like the best thing anymore. But I'm gonna get over that because I can. At the end of the day, even if like in the next couple of years I can't play, like, oh, that is such like a dumb thing to like, if you say it out loud, like, oh man, I can't play like this new game in like 4K, 1,000 frames per second, like that just is a little like ridiculous, especially if I'm able to play it at like a lower resolution, but still high frame rate. But of course, with me being like into PCs, I never eventually I'll want to upgrade, but I don't think that's anything to like be like full steam ahead, like pre-ordering. Like I'll wait for the cards to come out whenever they do, see how they perform, like the benchmarks and everything. Like it's not like with consoles, like, man, if you don't buy the PS5 you can't play these games. Like it's not like you have to, you know what I mean? Like we can still be playing the games. That's just not something that you need to upgrade to immediately, or else you won't be able to play like any of the new games coming out or whatever. Like we'll still be able to play them 1,000% fine. We'll just, with the new cars, we might be able to play them at a higher resolution and turn a few more ticks on that we couldn't with our graphics cards right now.
For sure.
But like I said, I cannot see them coming out tonight when they do the conference or whatever and be like, all right, these new cards coming out next week or whatever.
Yeah.
That'd be like
they're out now.
Completely. Yeah, exactly. And even if they are, I would be like, okay, whatever. I'm cool with what I got right now. I can play everything completely fine. I know me or you, fortunately, we are not having any problems running anything.
No.
So
I mean, just anything to do with new hardware is just always so exciting. And you and I have that exact same itch when anything
For
is
sure.
Like any new PS4 Pro revealed, I'm like, I have to have that now. Now, especially with PC components, I'm freaking out. So that's exciting. Regardless, I'm excited to see whatever it is they're teasing.
For sure. But anyways, it's been almost an hour now. So you want to talk about some news?
let's.
Yeah,
I'm good.
My room right now, I am absolutely freezing my butt off. I'm like shivering, and I feel like I'm like talking like in a shivery way. Like I feel like I'm almost about to stutter because I'm freezing so bad.
I'm talking in a shivery way. My nose is stuffed and I'm sweating profusely in my room, so I'm the direct opposite.
Okay. All right, cool. Anyways, this is the It's Obvious Gaming podcast. Obviously, my two best friends and I get together every single week to discuss video games. Obviously, please check the description down
obviously,
below
dude.
for timestamps to skip throughout the podcast if you don't want to let us listen to us talk about Hunt or PC gaming or anything that might not interest you in whatsoever. You can skip between everything, go right to the news or the community questions. But yeah, everything's down in the description. Subscribe to the podcast at youtube.com/itsobviousgaming, or that's just the channel. You can check out our Let's Plays, our video version of the podcast, pretty much anything else we put out. That's just our main hub. Subscribing to us there helps us out tremendously. Please just comment and like the video down below as well if you're watching this. That helps us out a lot as well. Yeah, just check the description. Everything's down there. It's a little bit of a different take on the intro, but like I said, I am so cold. I think my brain just froze and I completely forgot how I typically do it. But this is not a typical podcast we do, so
it is not. It is quite strange.
I guess the different intro fits this. But Garrett, I'm gonna let you bring us in with the first news story, and if you give me 15 seconds, I'm gonna run and grab a hoodie really quick, and I will be right back. So I'll be right back.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is just you and I talking on this podcast. This is a short example of what it would be like if it was just the two of us, or the hundreds of us, perhaps, depending on how many people listen to this episode. Let's talk about EA for 30 seconds or less, shall we? I couldn't care less about these stories in particular, but I thought they're worth mentioning. I'd like to hear Preston's take on them as well. Specifically about Patrick Soderlund leaving EA. Excuse me. I have so much crap in my throat, it's debilitating. Patrick's leaving, and apparently Battlefield 5 pre-orders are quite low, which doesn't surprise me, because I think just a week or two ago I was feeling like no one was talking about the game. And even I, as a longtime Battlefield fan, am not entirely excited about Battlefield 5, especially after playing at E3 and the closed alpha. Nothing has blown my mind yet. I don't know why that is, because I like World War II. I love Battlefield, but something about it's lacking in comparison to Battlefield 1. Now, of course, I'm still going to dabble in their Battle Royale mode. I want to see what that's all about. But I think there was a teaser for that as well. It was weird because I didn't see any major media publications talking about it, but this random YouTuber reposted the trailer. Maybe it was leaked or something. And of course, they have a ring of fire closing in around everyone, which is so original, dude. So cool. But I am interested to see what they bring to the table in the Battle Royale genre. So I will, of course, be looking into that. But other than that, I'm not entirely interested. And if Preston's back, I'm going to ask him about his thoughts on this whole situation. Preston, are you back?
Hey, I'm back. Hi.
Cool. I've been rambling all on my lonesome here. Thanks for returning.
Yeah, no problem. What are you talking about?
I was going to talk about EA for a very short amount of time. Patrick Soderlund is leaving.
Oh, yes.
So that's a thing, I guess. Funny story about him. He is one of the tallest human beings I've ever encountered in person. And I've encountered a handful of athletes in my day, like Shaq, for example, a couple other basketball players that are just massive, like Dominic Wilkins, for example, who formerly played on the Hawks. I shook his hand at a Hawks game one time, and my hand basically got lost in his hand. It like went into a cave, and I had to find it to get it out. He was that big of a man. But Patrick Soderlund, man, I've walked past him a couple times, and I swear to you, he's like one of those trees from Lord of the Rings. And I almost asked him out a couple of times too, because he's so good looking.
Oh yeah.
But that's my take on Patrick Soderlund. I'm sure everyone wishes him the best as he moves forward. He's a very wealthy man, very successful man, and I'm sure whatever he does next will be great. Anyway, speaking of EA, it's kind of our segue into this topic I wanted to bring up and see what your thoughts are on this. According to sources, pre-orders for Battlefield 5 are significantly lower than expected. And I was going to ask why you think that might be. Now, of course, I'm not trying to fish for any obvious dramatic answers like, oh, there's girls in the game and EA's too political and they're attacking their fans, like blah, 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 blah. Do you think people are saying those are the reasons, like EA gave people crap for not being into the idea of females being the game and their inaccurate portrayal of the history, blah, 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 blah. People are saying that's the reason why people aren't as interested this year. Do you think that's why, or do you think there's more to it than that?
I mean, I honestly don't know. I'm sure with some people, I mean, I'm sure that has to be a case with at least some people. I don't know how much. I have no clue. My personal thoughts on it and why I haven't pre-ordered or why I'm not interested at all is
because of the girls.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's no, it's I don't know. That's kind of a good question for my. I was initially going to say that I just haven't seen a lot of it. Like it doesn't seem like they're really pushing it a lot. Like I'm seeing Black Ops 4 everywhere. Like I'm seeing ads for it on like YouTube. I'm seeing Twitter ads constantly. I played in the beta. People are just talking about it. Whereas I think Battlefield 5 just had that closed alpha or beta or whatever it was about a month or so ago. That was kind of the last time people are talking about it. I know a Gamescom trailer just came out, but I'm not even really seeing a lot of it. So maybe other people aren't seeing a lot of it either. But in terms of, like I said, me personally, nothing that I've seen from Battlefield 5, honestly, is super interesting to me. Honestly, you already know I'm not too much of a hardcore Battlefield player. I didn't even play one. I just kind of played the demo or trial version of it on EA Access, and that was about it. So that's kind of just my personal thoughts on it. But if I had to guess, I think it has to do with just the
lack of exposure and marketing.
Yeah, I guess I'm personally not seeing any, so I don't know. Yeah. There, I mean, obviously there has to be something. Is Battlefield just kind of not as big a name as it used to be? Maybe that could be it.
I think that's definitely part of it. I think definitely, like you said, lack of marketing at the moment and exposure is a big part of it, and Call of Duty, of course, overshadowing it at the moment. But I think a very small percentage of it is definitely because of EA's response to fan backlash in the game. I don't think that's at all the reason why. I don't think that's the main cause of the lack of pre-orders at all. That's definitely a very small part of it, but I think, like you said, the marketing's a big part of it. They've only had that closed alpha, whereas Call of Duty, for example, has had a ton of marketing. The beta's already happened, or two beta weekends already, and they're already going to have the blackout weekend coming in September as well. Yeah. So people are going to be, like I said, probably more stoked for Call of Duty anyway. But I think I had a very obvious answer here that was so clearly the case. Oh yeah, I think every other game, with the exception of Red Dead, is going to have lower pre-orders than normal anyway because of that. I don't think it's going to debilitate any other games, but I think just this year in comparison to previous years that we'll have lower pre-orders because of Red Dead's the big one. Spider-Man, although it's only on PS4, is another big one. And everything. I mean, there's like 1,000 games releasing September, even the ones we overlook, like FIFA and stuff. I think it's coming out in September.
Dragon Quest.
Yeah, stuff like that. I mean, there's so much stuff coming
Destiny.
out. Yeah. So multiple factors there. And again, I've played the game and on 2 separate occasions, and neither one of those times really blew me away in the way the Battlefield 1 did. So I still think at the end of the day, I would have been more interested in, and I'm not saying I'm not going to play it. I'm definitely going to play this. If not at launch, at some point, I'm sure I'm going to dabble because I'm still interested in what they're going to do with Battle Royale. But I think if they just gone the traditional World War II route, even though people, I mean, it's a lose-lose situation for them because whether they were accurate or not, people are going to be like, you're just copying Call of Duty World War II now. And like, why are you doing this again? It's just more Battlefield 1. But I still think if they'd gone the traditional route, it would have garnered more interest to begin with because I think people just want that. I'm not saying, again, I'm not trying to argue the fact that there weren't women in the war or face paint or prosthetic limbs or anything. But I think if they had just gone what people would normally expect from a World War II video game, specifically from Battlefield, I think it would have been far less controversial and more interest would have been in it from the start. But all those factors, I think, are just a combination of why they're probably lower than they expected. But very interested to see how that turns out in comparison to Call of Duty in the midst of Red Dead and everything else coming out this fall.
For sure.
I'm sure, of course, EA will be fine regardless, and there will definitely be a fan base there. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Yeah, that's all I really had to say about EA. So
same here.
Nose is so stuffed. Dishonored, or Arcane's Dishonored is taking a break, unfortunately. I didn't read the details. I meant to read the details, but did you read up on this?
I did, and I saw the headline, and just the headline alone saddened me, so I didn't even want to read the details. But I mean, it's like I don't even think they really needed to even say this. I kind of just assumed that this was going on anyways.
Tell me about your love for Dishonored for a moment while I blow my nose. Don't worry, I'm going to cut out me blowing my nose. You need to fill the dead air for a second.
This is I mean, yes, I love Dishonored. Dishonored 1, 2, even Death of the Outsider, absolutely fantastic. They're amazing games. I love this. Jeez.
I have so much snot in my nose.
Holy crap. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, these how do they call them? I forgot what they call these games, like the Deus Ex and the Dishonored, like these. I know they're stealth games, but they call them like stealth simulation games or something, like Thief or whatever. I forgot the exact term they use, but it's really sad that this genre, it seems, is just not insane. Holy crap! Are you gonna cut that audio?
Yeah, I'm gonna cut it out.
Okay, so okay. If I know nobody's hearing this, but Garrett's having like an explosion right now with his face, or I don't know what's happening. Anyways, these games like Deus Ex and like the Thief reboot, best game ever, and Dishonored, I don't think they're just, the mainstream really isn't too into them, and it sucks because I freaking love Dishonored and Deus Ex, especially like Mankind Divided. I know I've talked numerous times how much I love that game, but that's Deus Ex is on hiatus right now. Now Dishonored is. It's like those two big games that I love for just that stealth gameplay. They didn't sell well, and it sucks. Yeah,
bummer, because Dishonored, I mean 1 and 2 obviously, but even Mankind Divided are just excellent stealth action games, and you and I are big fans, and I was sad to hear that. It wasn't a surprise at all, which is also a bummer, but because I think you and I had talked about that, like we were concerned about the sales of Dishonored 2, and of course, the critical reception was quite high, but sales-wise, it's struggled. But hopefully, we eventually get a third one, because I love those games.
Did you ever play Death of the Outsider?
I never did, but I've heard nothing but praise about it.
Yeah, it's really good. There's a really cool, of course, any stealth game that involves like a bank heist or anything.
Yeah,
that's like
that or a Prison Break, one of the two.
Exactly, which the Dishonored series has had both of those things. But yeah, the Death of the Outsider has a really cool mission where you have to break into a bank and completely like steal like an entire vault. And it's really, really cool mission. Like you can, one of the options is to steal, like on your way to the bank, you can like go to it's either like a doctor or a dentist's office and steal like sleeping gas, and you can put it into the vent system of the bank, so everybody's like knocked out when you go through there. Just like, options like that to make, the just to give you like choice, in the mission, either make it easier or whatever. But yeah, Death of the Outsider, if you have hearing this news, if it makes you sad, and you haven't played Death of the Outsider, that there is like a smaller game, but for what it is, it's a decent length. There is some content that, some Dishonored content that you haven't played yet. So
maybe I'll pick that up on PC at some point, add it to my growing list of a backlog.
Yes. Same thing with Deus Ex. If you like Deus Ex, there's some DLC for that as well. That is probably dirt cheap.
You gifted me the copy. I have that on PC, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was like Game of the Year edition or whatever, but I know I gifted you the game.
Yeah,
but DLC for Deus Ex is fairly solid. There's one of them that's trash, but the other two, there is a Prison Break. The last DLC expansion is a Prison Break, and that's a fun one.
I'm excited to get into that at some point. I will definitely play it again.
Yep. But anywho's.
Yeah. Bummer. The rumors are true. Diablo 3 is indeed coming to Switch. I think at some point later this year.
Yeah.
If I read that correctly. So
you did.
Cool, dude. I'm probably not going to pick it up on Switch, but that is very cool for people that either haven't played it or want to play it on the go. I think that's an excellent game to play on the go.
I agree.
So if you're like, oh, I'm just going to run through a dungeon real quick on the train or the bus. So that's pretty awesome.
Exclusive Ganondorf skin looks pretty cool as well.
Is that a thing?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a Ganondorf. I don't think it's armor. It's like the type of armor that you can like, I forgot the term they use in Diablo, where you can like put its appearance over other armor.
Yeah. I really like that update a lot, because I would get so many stupid looking pieces. Normally, I think most of the stuff in Diablo looks cool, but I always preferred the look of certain items. I was glad you could kind of skin them over.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm definitely buying it now because of that.
There's like a player portrait, like the picture of your character, the circle around it. There's one with like a Triforce above the head.
Cool.
And then I think there's like some wings, like purple wings that like come out of your dude as well. But I think everything else is the same. Those are just some exclusives.
Nice. I adore that game. I don't know. I'm probably not going to play it on Switch, but that is really rad.
Yeah, Diablo is cool.
Halo Infinite is indeed Halo 6, according to 343. So cool, dude. Interesting they're not numbering it this time, like Halo 6 Infinite. Maybe Halo Infinite will not only be Halo 6, but kind of launch Halo into the next generation of, obviously not consoles or anything, but, well, we're nearing that time, but just launch Halo into a new generation with new stories and whatnot, with the title Infinite in particular. Don't have much else to say other than that's interesting news that it is indeed confirmed to be Halo 6 and it's not something else entirely.
Yeah.
So also begs the question why Master Chief's armor has reverted to his Halo, I think Halo 2 or 3 armor set. So I do think it looks better than his Halo 4 armor, but maybe it's just an aesthetic choice on the developers' end. I don't know, or there's more story to it than that.
They're going back to the basics.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I have a lot of thoughts on Halo when more news starts to trickle out about that. I mean, I've already talked about like narratively what I'd like to see, but gameplay wise, I have a lot of thoughts on what I think would be cool. We'll talk about that later, though. Spyro's trilogy, the Reignited trilogy, was unfortunately delayed to November 13th. Now, I was no doubt I wasn't gonna play this at launch anyway, but for those people out there that were head over heels excited to play it on launch day, it is unfortunately delayed to November 13th to polish the game a bit more and maybe try to include all 3 games on one disc. I don't know if they're going to try to do that. I know that was a complaint from a lot of fans, and Activision claims that it's obviously there's the one game on the disc and then it comes with a download code or whatever for the other 2. But
now, is that for every single version of the game?
I don't. Like I'm not sure.
Okay.
But regardless, I mean, Toys for Bob and Activision both were like, we want this to be as best as it can be and uphold our standards and everything. So it's been delayed. I wasn't going to play it until, if not the end of this year, till early next year anyway. But I am excited to play it, just especially the first game, because that's my most nostalgia lies with the first game. But yeah, that's a thing. So anyone who's excited, it's kind of a bummer, but at least it's not delayed till next year.
For sure.
New Siege operators coming in an update. Do you see these guys and gal?
I saw a picture. I didn't see the explanation. I feel bad just about Siege in general. I bought the year 3 pass. I think Siege, is an absolutely incredible game. We used to talk about it all the time, and I just don't play it anymore. And I think that's a very sad thing.
I don't play it either. I mean, you and I could make the choice to play it again at some point together if you'd like.
I would love to play the game again. I think the problem with Sieges is that I hate playing Siege by myself.
Oh, me too. It's terrible. You have to play with friends.
I'm horrified of the people that I'm playing with.
Yeah, with and against is the sad thing.
Yeah. I'm so scared they're just going to turn on me.
Yeah. You can piss them off, they'll kill you, or the clutch and kick mentality and everything still exists regardless of the changes they've tried to make to the social sphere of Siege. The new operators look cool though. One's called Maverick. He's an offensive character who wields a torch that can burn through virtually any surface. It can burn through armored walls, armored doors, stuff like that. And it's cool because you manually make the holes. It isn't just like, oh, you push a button and it makes a hole for you. You direct it like you're aiming your weapon carves out the shape. So you can carve little tiny holes to make new peak holes. You can carve, and it would take up all the juice of your torch to cut a hole big enough for you to actually fit through. But I think it's cool because you can make new little peak spots where they couldn't exist before with his torch. So that was a really cool idea for an offensive operator to really create holes for your team or yourself to kind of combat other players. And I think he just has a really good weapon too. I can't remember what the weapon was, but of course, in addition to his torch, he just has good guns. But he was cool. And Clash is the defensive operator who has a shield that produces like an electric pulse that shocks people and slightly damages them. And her shield covers her whole body, but she cannot fire a weapon like Montaigne or Blitz, for example. She can, but she has to put her shield completely away to pull out her sidearm and fire it, which is relatively quick, but it's not quite as quick as, say, Montaigne dropping a shield and popping someone with a pistol. So I think that's a really cool idea for Operator, too, because she's apparently all about crowd control. If there's like a bunch of people trying to rush into an area, she can just guard a door because no one can shoot through her shield. Which is pretty cool, and she can shock people. So I thought both those operators are really cool, and I definitely want to play as them. The other two that came out while we were away for a while were Alibi and someone else. I can't remember their name. Obviously after Lion and Finca or whatever their names were. So we were totally out of the loop on those other guys. But these two I've kind of paid attention to more because they're pretty cool looking. And I thought they sound like a really cool addition to the game. I have no idea how many operators are going to wind up in the game total. But it's getting to a point where it's crazy how many characters in the game. Like Overwatch, for example, I don't know how much longer they're going to go adding new characters. But it's cool. And I think it looks pretty fun. You and I should dabble in that some more.
I agree.
New Super Mario Bros. U from Wii U is coming to Switch. I think it's still a rumor, or maybe it's confirmed. I don't know. I remember the reviews being fairly decent for that. I think I rewatched IGN's review about an hour ago, right before we did this podcast. I couldn't remember much about it, but it looks fun. I love traditional Mario experiences. I know that's obviously like a 3D-esque side-scroller platforming Mario, but it mostly seemed to review well, so I'll probably pick that up just because I love Mario when it comes out. But I think that's coming out later this year as well.
Okay.
That's cool. Add it to my growing list of things on Switch that I start playing and don't finish.
I hear you.
We already talked about the Vampire TV series. I got excited about this article from COD Connected, but I was so let down by it. There's an article titled, Ready at Dawn revisits the Order 1886. I was like, oh crap, what's this going to be about? So read it. And basically all it was them talking about, obviously the critical and commercial reception of the game and what they learned from that whole process and how they've applied it to everything else they've done since then. And they're very hesitant to say they would ever revisit the Order, but I think they basically said they're not even remotely working on anything Order related at the moment, which bummed me out.
Yeah.
Because I still think that game deserves a sequel, but I mean, it begs the question, there's a lot of ways you could follow that up and improve upon it, but how many people are genuinely interested in a cover-based third-person shooter at the moment? I don't think many people are, especially a linear, single-player focused, narrative-driven third-person shooter. I would play it.
Sounds amazing.
But then again, I played Gears 4. I mean, maybe it's just narratively I was disinterested in it, but even...
Dude, did I ever talk about Gears 4?
Yeah, you did a few weeks ago, I think.
Okay, so I did say that I beat it.
Yes. You didn't say you beat it.
Oh, yeah, dude. This was forever ago. I beat it. The ending of that game was so lackluster that I was shocked that was the end of the game.
Oh, yeah, me too. That's why I'm not even. I mean, I'm going to play Gears 5, and I'm not freaking out about it like I was for Gears 4's return, because I just didn't really care about the ending of the fourth one.
Yeah, like the final fight and like I thought I was just fighting
like another random just mini boss encounter.
Exactly, and then it just ends.
Yeah,
like completely just anticlimactic. Just finish that game not even at half chub.
Yep.
So yeah.
So that's the thing. I played through Gears 4 and I liked it, but even gameplay wise, I wasn't. Again, it is a rock solid third person shooter. I mean, I still think Gears is like the best like COD is like the best first person shooting mechanics that exist currently. I know people can argue that, but I think for the most part, Call of Duty has the best first person shooting mechanics. I think Gears has nailed the third person cover based shooting mechanics. And even with that existing within the game, I'm still not loving the experience. So I'm wondering, with the Order, I think the main appeal for me was, of course, the story and just the presentation of it, and the time setting and everything was the coolest part about it. So I think that's why I want more of it. But anything like in the 1800s, I've always loved that vibe. Like I said, the Penny Dreadful or the Hunt Showdown or the Order 1886. Anything with that style always interests me. So that's where I really hope we see a sequel to that at some point. But yeah, that article was disappointing, to say the least.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it for news, unless I'm missing something that stuck out to you this week.
Not that I can think of.
Okay, because I don't think it was that big of a week. Of course, we are nearing the big fall surge of games coming out. And of course, we'll be talking about all that stuff, producing videos and streams of most of it, specifically Spider-Man, Red Dead, of course. Probably be doing a little Call of Duty as well.
2 weeks away from football, too.
Yes. We're going to be covering all things college football on this channel as well. Actually, we're thinking about converting our channel from gaming to college football coverage exclusively.
Yeah, so that'd be cool.
We're excited about that as well. Anyway, let's move on to community questions. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for taking time out of your days to submit questions for this show and Ask IOG, which, as I've said countless times now, will return in time. Please never hesitate to send us questions for either show, because we will read them at some point. And of course, we're reading questions weekly on the It's Obvious podcast. So please continue to send them our way if you think of anything even remotely interesting or amusing for us to discuss. Remember, they're not just for us, they are for the community as a whole, for us all to discuss during the show and in the comments below and on Discord, of course. All that being said, if you wish to submit questions for the show to be read, you can reach us in one of three places. You can email us at itsobviousgaming@gmail.com. You can tweet at us at obvious_gaming, or submit your questions in the Ask IOG section of our Discord channel. Now, if you want your questions read publicly on the air when the mics are hot and the world can hear them, always include the hashtag AskIOG so we know you want them read publicly and not privately. All that out of the way, let's get to the first one. I had a great one from Squishy, but Jacob's not with us. I'm going to reserve it for next week. Caleb writes in and says, "Hey guys, glad Preston finalized his move and is back with you all. So my question this week, what's the coolest interaction you've had with one of the IOGs? Whether it be in-game or in person, thanks and love the podcast as always. It makes my commute so much better." Caleb, thank you so much for tuning in and submitting your question, my friend. Preston, you want to start? I have I think a couple.
The coolest interaction? Dude, I don't know. I always enjoy the nice messages that I receive via my PlayStation account or my Steam account. I think a guy, I forgot who it was, and please forgive me, but he knew I was in like a rut of gaming, so he just gifted me a game one time, saying that maybe that would get me out of the rut. So that was a cool interaction, and I was very appreciative of that. So yeah, I guess just the sum of those things. Some guy showed up at my house one time, and I greeted him, let him inside. He spent the night. That was pretty cool.
Oh, sweet, man.
Yeah. But no, I think that's that's pretty much it for me personally.
Dude, sick, man. I'm trying to.
What about you, sir?
Yeah, of course, I've had a lot of fun interactions in game a bunch of OGs in the past. Trying to, please forgive me. I'm trying to remember who I met at Smith's recently. I can't, because we were messaging about it and I can't remember who it was. Please forgive me. I can't remember your name, but I know we spoke at Smith's briefly because you were in the area and just happened to stop by. But that was super cool. It was the first OG I've met in person. That was awesome. I felt terrible too because I was so busy that night, and I didn't want you to think. I think I mentioned this that week as well, but I didn't want you to think I was trying to ignore you or anything that night. I was just so busy with so many bands. I think I had 8 bands that night I was dealing with, so I was totally consumed by work. But it was great meeting you and chatting for a minute. But that was super cool. I think I can't remember. Of course, I've been gifted games from OGs in the past, most recently with Harley and Overwatch, and I can't thank you guys enough for that. Very, very generous of you guys, and just the support overall over all these years has been truly humbling, and we greatly appreciate it, because without your support, we would have never, ever, ever made it this far. There's no way we would have been podcasting. I think we've only missed maybe a week, maybe two over the 4 years we've been doing this.
Yep.
So there's no way we'd have done this weekly without your continued support. We can't thank you enough for that. And it's been a slow burn, obviously, getting to a point where we could ever do this full time. But we haven't given up yet, because we love doing this. And at the end of the day, as long as we get to talk video games with ourselves and you guys, it's always going to be worth it to us. So we can't thank you guys enough for that. But Caleb, great question, man. We appreciate it. Now, I've gone back and forth in the pronunciation of this name on Discord. I don't know if it's Kinder Egg or Kinder Egg, but for some reason I want to say Kinder Egg. Please correct me on Discord if it's Kinder or Kinder. And I don't know how you're supposed to describe that in writing, but one of the two. Kinder Egg says, "All right, my good men. I was wondering, instead of cut-up edited Let's Plays on the channel, would you ever play the entire story mode on stream, several streams if needed, to get the full experience with the audience?" Just putting it out there if that's something you'd be interested in. Kinder Egg, we have discussed this on several occasions, I believe, off the podcast. Preston and I have talked about doing A Way Out from, what's his name? That indie studio that EA published, Way Out.
Yosef something?
Yeah, the fuck the Oscars guy.
Yeah.
We talked about, me and Preston and I, of course, it's a co-op game. Doing that all the way through on stream would be cool. So that's something we've talked about. And if we stream this week, maybe we'll do that. Maybe something else. I don't know yet. But we have discussed that, yes. And it is a very real possibility.
Yeah.
Just doing it consistently is challenging, of course. JPV18 writes in and says, "What is all the haps, guys? So as I have become older, I now find myself going out of my way to pull up specific game soundtracks on YouTube. Example, Fallout 2 for PS2. And it got me thinking, which do you guys prefer? Composed for the game soundtracks, like Legend of Zelda, or popular bands at the time of the game's release making songs for the game, like Madden?" It's interesting because Fallout 3, for example, I think all the Fallout games technically have 2 soundtracks. There's the score that I rarely listen to, but I do like it when I hear it. And then there's the soundtrack, which is all the bands that comprise the game. Like Madden, for example, or sports games, or the Tony Hawk games. So, yeah, I don't know if I have a preference per se, but I think I tend to listen to whatever soundtrack stuck with me most from the game. Like Oblivion and Skyrim, of course, I listen to those soundtracks because that's what you hear as the score throughout the game. But, of course, I'll go back and listen to Tony Hawk soundtracks from time to time. And Doom is, at the moment, my favorite game soundtrack because it's one of my favorite genres, and it just totally fits the vibe of that game. So I jam to that quite often. So I don't know if I have a preference, but say there's, like a soundtrack or a score pertaining to a particular game, I typically listen to the one that is either appealing to me in the moment or the one I'm most familiar with, which in Fallout 3's case is the soundtrack of all those various bands and everything. What about you, Preston?
I'm not exactly sure I understand the question. It doesn't help that you keep cutting out a little bit in the Discord chat right now.
Oh.
But that's not a big issue right now, especially since we're almost done. But Is there any way you could summarize it in like 5 words?
Yes.
What the question is again?
Let me breeze through it. Do you prefer like composed game soundtracks, like a score, for example, or the soundtrack that just is comprised of a bunch of different bands that have either made or submitted songs for a game soundtrack?
Gotcha. What do I prefer? I think I share the same kind of opinion with you about the whole Fallout thing. What you said there. Yeah, I guess I'll just agree with you.
Okay.
I'm still not exactly sure I understand the question 1,000%, but I'll just say I agree with you.
Okay. Let's see. Here's JPV, by the way. Thank you for your question, my friend. Carlos Perez writes in. This is an interesting one. He says, "What do you guys think or call people who won't buy a PS4 to play Spider-Man but want to play it?"
Crap. Say it again.
What do you guys think or call people who won't buy a PS4 to play Spider-Man but want to play it?
Is this a joke?
Maybe. I don't know. If we're being real about it, I would say those are people who don't really want to play it. Otherwise, they would buy a PS4 to play it. Part of them may want to, but they don't really, really want to play it if they're not willing to buy a PS4.
I would call you a loser for not having a PS4 in the first place.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty solid answer. If anything, if you guys remember us by anything, it's that you're a loser if you don't have a PS4. That'll be our legacy on It's Obvious Gaming.
Yeah.
Hashtag not fanboys. Gray writes in and says, "Hello, men of audible discussion with context of virtual games and other ideologies. Got a sweet, sweet question. I truly love open world games to be part of a living environment that's completely different of my own. What dystopia or reimagining of an open world would you like to see in a video game? I'd like to see some GTA-sized Dishonored-style world. I'd have some good times in such a locale. Right, good day, you standards of masculinity." What's an open world you'd like to see, Preston?
An open world I'd like to see.
Easy answer for me. Star Wars. We're getting that at some point. Hopefully it's good.
Oh, wow. Before Breath of the Wild came out, I would have said Zelda, but I can't say that anymore. Not that like there were open world elements previously in Zelda, but like a full-on open world like Breath of the Wild. So that is done. I'm going to say I would love to see, and this is just a complete cop-out answer, so I'm sorry, but Harry Potter, the universe in full open world.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I will fantasize about that till my dying day if we don't get it.
Yeah, I think one day we will see it. I know, deep down in my soul, I know one day we'll see it.
I wish I had enough draw in the games industry or enough influence to acquire a meeting with a publisher and pitch. You could join me, of course. We could even have a hot debate about it, about whether it should be an MMO or RPG. But I wish I had the chance to pitch ideas about things like that, because I really do. I mean, I'm not the first person to say this. Everyone, for the most part, has had a good idea in their life. But I think the ideas you and I have talked about for a Harry Potter game, I think they're very obvious ideas, but I think they're so good to pass up, and they could have such a profound, successful, amazing Harry Potter experience on their hands at WB that they're just wasting it unless someone's been secretly working on it for years that we don't know about.
Yeah. I mean, I think, I know with that, I don't know all the DSLs. I know we've talked about it on the podcast before, but I know that there is a studio right now working on a Harry Potter game. So,
which studio is this again? Is this like a secret studio?
It's not a secret studio. I know when they announced that mobile game. Yeah, I know when they announced the mobile game, they said something about a console experience as well.
Right.
I forgot the.
And they better not blow it. It is so clear what they should do with that and how they could succeed. I mean, you'd have to try to F it up. So
yeah, for sure.
Hopefully they're dumping the right budget into it, because Harry Potter is a hot commodity. I don't know why they wouldn't invest highly in it.
Yeah.
Gray, thank you for your question. Brandon says, What's up, boys? Predictions on Game of the Year for 2018, released or not? Easy answer for me. I think it's going to come down to Red Dead and God of War.
I agree. God of War or Red Dead.
It's hard to say because even though we've seen a profound look at Red Dead, there's still so much of it we haven't experienced yet. And I think from a video game perspective, where narrative meets gameplay, I think God of War is truly a masterpiece. I know you and I feel that way. I know not the whole world feels that way, but I think many people feel that way. It is an incredible achievement.
I think God of War will be the game of my game of year, probably followed extremely closely by Spider-Man, but I know what to expect from Spider-Man. I know I know what Insomniac does. I know it's going to be a really, really, really good, awesome, solid game. Hopefully it exceeds my expectations, and like the narrative is insane and there's just incredible boss battles. Like I really hope it exceeds my expectations, and I think that's why God of War will probably be my game of the year, is because I knew God of War was going to be great. I didn't know God of War was going to be incredible, like one of the best single player, narrative driven games that I have. Well, I don't even want to say narrative driven, just one of the best single player experiences that I've had since like The Last of Us. I didn't know God of War was going to be on that level. I didn't know I was going to care about Kratos and Atreus and just that story, and then on top of that, just the incredible combat and just that world and all the like that game blew my mind and completely took me by surprise. And it is so rare where a game can just jump up and surprise you by being that good. So I think that probably will push God of War over the end. I know Red Dead's going to be incredible, and it might be the better game than God of War. It could be, but I just think, me personally, God of War is probably going to just stick with me more and just stick out more to me for this year because of how big of a surprise it was to me.
Yeah. I think from the industry as a whole, I think the two that will be discussed the most as far as AAA games are concerned will be Red Dead and God of War. I think other ones in the talks will be Celeste, Hunt Showdown, of course.
Of course, yes.
Hollow Knight released this year, didn't it?
I think Hollow Knight came because
I know it came to Switch after.
Yeah, I'm sure Monster Hunter will be brought up as well.
Yeah. I mean, there will be a lot in that discussion, but I think the two big ones will be Red Dead and God of War for sure.
Yeah.
I think Spider-Man will be in the talks, absolutely.
That's what I'm saying. Spider-Man is going to have to, and it's like narrative, and like I said, just completely have surprises that we haven't seen. I think for it to seriously be in those discussions, from what we've seen, it just looks like the best Spider-Man game we've ever seen.
Right.
But for it to be like game of the year levels, like it has to be hiding some crazy stuff.
You know what it has to do? It has to become greater.
Yeah.
Just like the slogan says.
Did you by chance see the open world trailer for Spider-Man that just came out?
I didn't watch it.
I didn't mean to watch it, but it was playing in my Twitter feed. It just played as I scrolled past it.
Yeah.
There's no new gameplay. It's honestly, besides him just like giving high fives to people in the streets and stuff. But just it showed like an interaction between Peter and J. Jonah Jameson on the podcast, where he called in and he's like, I think you're giving Spider-Man like too much of like a bad rap and stuff. And J. Jonah was like arguing against him, and then Peter goes like so cheesy. He goes, well, my grandpa told me that with great power comes great responsibility, and it was just like super like cheesy and stuff. But I think for it to reach, like I said, these game of the year levels, I think that it needs to be a little less cliche than that throughout the entire game. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It just needs to surprise me, because that's what I expect from a Spider-Man game is stuff like that. So I want something to really come out and blow my mind, something I'm show me something that I'm not expecting.
Yeah, because I mean it's marketed as the truest, purest form of a modern AAA Spider-Man video game, just with the box art and the title and its advertising.
It's canon.
Yeah.
They're saying it's canon. Yeah. It's got its own universe. In that open world trailer, it showed the Avengers Tower up close. It showed where Doctor Strange is. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, just stuff like that. So I'm hoping surprises like that, like if they're just showing us that stuff, like what is hidden in this game?
I know. They've got to be hiding something significant. I think both Sony and Insomniac are smart enough to realize in today's world, you have to have some surprises in there. So there's no way they're foolish enough to think they would just reveal all that and be like, yep, that's what's in there. That's it. Just leave it up to your own interpretation.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I'm sure we're bound for some cool stuff. We will know in the very near future.
If I were to bet money, though, I would say God of War is going to be my game of the year.
Okay.
So
I'm not ready to determine that myself. I know the two that are going to combat in my heart.
Fallout 76 coming out, dude.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that. And we can't forget about Fortnite either, man. It released last year. Battle Royale specifically, dude. We got to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
So anyway, our big finale returns to the medieval world of Sam Harris's mind and our characters on our next adventure regarding another community question. If you're ready for this. Now, he had a good idea that we can't do because none of us are together, but going forward, I'll do this. It's like a bi-weekly thing I'll do, but if he continues to send them our way. But he thought it'd be a good idea if we all had our own copies and just did our own voices, and it'd be a little more interactive. So I thought that'd be kind of fun. Okay. We'll do that going forward.
Would it be smarter to hold this question till next week with Jacob?
Maybe we should. Maybe it'd be more fun to hold. Yeah. Well, then again, like the question...
you keep breaking up too, so I don't know if I would be able to fully enjoy it, and we could do like all the voices and stuff, because I'll be there next week. So
yeah, I mean, the question is sort of tied to this week. I think another week would be a little redundant, but I don't think it's that big of a deal, because it's not like we'll have a whole lot to say about it. But yeah, maybe that's probably a better idea. I think people in the long run would enjoy it more if Jacob's here as well. So we'll do that next week.
Yeah. Cool.
That's it, bro.
Awesome. Well, thanks to everybody for listening, subscribing to the channel at youtube.com/ItsObviousGaming. Please subscribe to us over at the Apple podcasting app as well. We're on Spotify, Google Play, Audio Boom, and other podcasting services. Again, please check the description. There's links to all our social media pages down there, our PlayStation, PSN names, our Steam IDs, all our gamer tags, etc., anything you would ever need to get in contact with us. Again, let me reiterate, I think our YouTube subscriptions have kind of come to a halt. I haven't checked them really recently. But
we got a nice boost from that Red Dead thing.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, please just subscribe to the channel at youtube.com/ItsObviousGaming. Garrett, for the most part, does a stream every weekday morning. Please check us out at twitch.tv/ItsObviousGaming. Give us a follow there. If you have an extra subscription with your Amazon Prime account, we would absolutely be honored if you would lend that to us. That we would be forever grateful for that. Jacob does Twitch streams every weeknight as well, sometimes on the weekends. I believe our schedule is on our Discord channel. Is that anywhere else, Garrett, or just there?
It's on Discord. It is on our Twitch channel as well, both in the tabs below and on that main screen where you'd actually watch the stream. It's posted there for your convenience.
Gotcha. Well, check that out if you are interested whatsoever in watching us stream. And if you enjoy our podcast and any of our other content, I can assure you that you will enjoy it. I think I pretty much hit on everything, unless I'm missing something, Garrett.
No, I think you're solid, my friend. It was nothing short of a pleasure. I look forward to talking with you more this week about potential streams and whatnot. We'll keep everyone updated on Discord and social media and whatnot regarding that. But I'm hoping to crank out a little bit of YouTube content this week as well. I'm not sure exactly what it'll be. Of course, we're going to crank that up when fall hits and all these new games come out. But we'll try to find some space to fill in between now and then, because I actually had a lot of fun working on YouTube stuff last week. So try that again this week, see how it goes. But as always, thank you to all of you for tuning in. We greatly appreciate the support.
Awesome. Again, sorry if I went off on little tirades or my voice sounded weird or I could not respond completely to questions at the end here, because I don't know if it's Discord is messing up, but Garrett keeps breaking up, so I'm having a little bit of a hard time hearing him, and it's the Antarctic in this room, so it's a little hard to think about anything else but my nuts freezing off. But with all that out of the way, I think that'll do it for today. Garrett, I've enjoyed discussing with you. I hope we can stream a little bit this week. And I think that'll do it. And we will talk to you guys next week.
Goodbye now.
Bye-bye.